It was a quiet Oregon morning. The kind where the mist hangs low over the fields and everything feels still, almost suspended in time. Inside a modest family home, sunlight slipped gently through the kitchen window. Coffee steamed on the counter. A child laughed somewhere down the hallway. And then a camera turned on. Tori Roloff smiled, but her smile wasn't casual. It wasn't just another update. It was the kind of smile you wear when you're holding something life-changing inside you. And then she said it. "We have some exciting news." That's all it took. Because what happened next didn't just make headlines, it touched thousands of families who have followed this journey for over a decade. Zach and Tori Roloff were about to welcome a new baby into their home. But this wasn't just another pregnancy announcement. This was something deeper. And what most people didn't see was everything it took to get to this moment. For years, audiences have watched Zach grow up on television. From a shy teenager navigating life on a farm, to a husband, to a father of 3. Through triumphs, health scares, surgeries, heartbreak, and major family changes, viewers have seen it all. But here's what makes this moment different. Every pregnancy in this family carries emotional weight. Medical uncertainty, genetic probability, hope mixed with quiet fear. And yet, here they are again. Smiling, expecting, believing. So today, we're not just talking about baby news. We're stepping inside a family's private joy. We're unpacking what this means for them. And we're asking a deeper question. What does it truly take to build a family when every new chapter comes with risk? Zach Roloff grew up in front of America. On Little People, Big World, audiences watched him navigate life with achondroplasia, the most common form of dwarfism. They saw his insecurities, his humor, his stubborn streak. But they also saw resilience. Then came Tori. Warm, grounded, patient. She wasn't born into television. She married into it. And over time, she became the emotional anchor of this family. Together, they built something that felt steady, real, unpolished. They moved homes. They stepped away from parts of the spotlight. They chose privacy when needed. But one thing remained constant. Family came first. Jackson's birth brought celebration and medical awareness. Lila's arrival brought more understanding of genetic realities. Each time, they faced the same statistics. A 50% chance their child could inherit dwarfism. And every time they waited for answers, they did so quietly, together. So when they announced this pregnancy, fans weren't just excited. They were relieved. Because they knew what it meant emotionally. But here's what most people don't talk about. The waiting period. The ultrasounds, the medical consultations, the silent car rides home. Tori has openly shared in the past how nerve-wracking those early weeks can be, not because they fear dwarfism, but because they know what it can mean medically. Surgeries, monitoring, advocacy, preparedness. So imagine standing in that kitchen, holding a secret that's both beautiful and fragile. You're excited. But you're also remembering every what if. That's the complexity of this joy. And that's why their smiles feel different. Because behind that happiness is strength. When they finally shared the news publicly, it wasn't flashy. It wasn't dramatic. It felt intimate. The kind of moment where you can almost hear their kids running around in the background. They weren't performing. They were celebrating. And fans felt it. Comments poured in. Messages from parents of children with dwarfism. Messages from mothers who understand high-risk pregnancies. Messages from longtime viewers who said, "We feel like we've grown up with you." And maybe that's why this moment matters so much. Because it doesn't feel like celebrity news. It feels like a neighbor telling you something wonderful. There's something powerful about preparing a home for a baby. Tiny clothes folded carefully. A crib assembled late at night. Older siblings asking questions. And Zach? He's not just preparing for another child. He's preparing to guide another life through a world he understands deeply. And Tori? She's preparing her heart again. For the unknown. For the sleepless nights. For the overwhelming love. And here's the part that hits hardest. They know what responsibility feels like. They know what advocacy requires. And they're choosing it again. Willingly. That's courage. This baby isn't just a new addition. It's proof of hope. Proof that despite challenges, despite public scrutiny, despite family tensions in recent years, they're still choosing growth. Still choosing joy. Still choosing family. And maybe that's the quiet message here. Life doesn't stop being uncertain. You just learn to move forward anyway. Since the announcement, fans have been speculating. Will we see this journey on television? Will they document the pregnancy online? How will the older kids react? But Zach and Tori have become more intentional in recent years. More protective. More selective. They've learned the cost of constant exposure. So perhaps this time will feel different. More private. More sacred. And honestly, that feels right when we strip away the headlines. This is about something universal. The courage to expand your family when you understand the risks. The strength to smile while carrying uncertainty. The faith to believe that love outweighs fear. So ask yourself, if you knew every what if ahead of time, would you still step forward? They did. Again, somewhere tonight in that same Oregon home, there will be laughter. There will be planning. There will be whispered conversations about names and nursery colors. And there will be gratitude. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about television. It's about a couple who keep choosing each other, who keep choosing family, and who are about to hear the cry of a newborn echo through their home once again. And when that moment comes, everything will change. Again, the announcement was joyful. But joy is rarely the whole story. Because what the camera captures in 30 seconds often hides months of quiet conversations, late-night worries, and moments that never make it online. And this pregnancy? It didn't begin with a social media post. It began with a conversation. The house was quiet that evening. Jackson had finally fallen asleep after asking 100 bedtime questions. Lila's nightlight glowed softly down the hallway. The television was off. The dishes were done. Zach leaned back into the couch, exhausted but calm. Tori sat beside him, not scrolling on her phone, not distracted, just thinking. And then she said it. Do you think we're done? It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't urgent. But it carried weight. Because that question isn't just about babies. It's about the future. Zach didn't answer immediately. He stared ahead for a second longer than usual. In families like theirs, decisions aren't simple. Every pregnancy comes with probability. Every child carries a genetic coin flip. And even though they have never treated dwarfism as something negative, they understand the medical complexity that can come with it. Spinal checks, head measurements, monitoring, surgeries, questions from strangers. They've lived it. So when they talk about expanding their family, they aren't just imagining tiny socks and first smiles. They're imagining responsibility. And that changes everything. But here's the part most people don't realize. Fear and desire can exist at the same time. Tori wanted another baby. Not because she felt incomplete, but because she loved the chaos. The noise. The fullness of a house with little footsteps running across hardwood floors. Zach wanted another child too. But his hesitation wasn't about love. It was about protection. He knows the world can be unkind. He knows what school hallways can feel like. He knows the quiet moments when a child might ask, "Why am I different?" And he carries those memories. So when they began seriously talking about trying again, it wasn't impulsive. It was layered. It was careful. It was honest. And eventually it was hopeful. The test sat on the bathroom counter early one morning. The house was still asleep. Tori stared at it longer than she expected to. Even before she looked, her heart was racing, because in that tiny plastic window wasn't just a result. It was a new chapter. And when the lines appeared, everything shifted. There's something surreal about knowing before anyone else does. Before the kids. Before the cameras. Before the internet. For a brief moment, the news belongs only to you. And she just stood there, smiling, breathing, processing. When she told Zach, it wasn't grand. No balloons. No elaborate reveal. Just two people in their kitchen, holding a truth that would change their home forever. He froze for half a second. Then he laughed. Then he hugged her. And in that embrace, there was excitement. But there was also understanding. Because they both knew what came next. Appointments. Testing. Waiting. And waiting is the hardest part. The first ultrasound always carries tension. The room is dim. The machine hums softly. The technician speaks carefully. And you search their face for clues. Every parent knows that feeling. But when genetics are involved, that silence stretches longer. Zach held Tori's hand tightly. He doesn't show nerves easily. But his grip said everything. They weren't hoping for one specific outcome. They were hoping for health, stability, strength. And when the doctor reassured them that everything looked good so far, they exhaled. Not fully, but enough. Here's the thing about high-awareness pregnancies. You celebrate in stages. First heartbeat. First growth milestone. First confirmation that everything is progressing normally. Each appointment becomes its own emotional peak. And between those peaks, there are quiet valleys. Moments of doubt that sneak in late at night. Moments where you Google too much. Moments where you replay past experiences in your mind. But they've been here before. They know how to steady each other. Tori talks when she's anxious. Zach listens. Zach internalizes when he's worried. Tori reassures. That balance is why they work. And it's why they're choosing this again. Meanwhile, life didn't pause. Soccer practices continued. Grocery runs happened. Laundry piled up. And in the middle of it all, Tori carried a secret under her heart. The kids didn't know yet. But Jackson sensed something. Children always do. He noticed the extra tiredness. The way Mom sat down more often. The way Dad looked at her with that subtle protective glance. And one afternoon he asked, "Is there a baby coming?" It caught them off guard. They exchanged a look. And in that look was a shared realization. This is real now. This is happening. Telling the kids wasn't about production. It wasn't staged. It was simple. And their reactions? Fear. Confusion first. Then excitement. Then questions. So many questions. Will it be a brother or sister? Will they sleep in my room? Can I hold the baby? And as they answered, something shifted again. This wasn't just their decision anymore. It was a family decision. A shared journey. But what happened next changed everything. The follow-up appointment. The one that determines more clarity. The one that makes everything feel official. The night before, neither of them slept well. They didn't say it out loud. But both were replaying possibilities. And this is where the human side becomes undeniable. Even when you believe everything will be okay, you still prepare yourself emotionally. Because hope is powerful. But preparation is protection. And the quiet drive to the clinic, the radio stayed off. Zach focused on the road. Tori looked out the window. Neither wanted to fill the silence with unnecessary words. Sometimes silence is stronger. And in that silence was unity. No matter what happens, we face it together. That's what their marriage has always been built on. Not perfection. Partnership. When the appointment ended and they stepped back into the daylight, their faces were different. Lighter. Softer. More certain. They weren't just expecting. They were confident. And that confidence changed the tone of everything that followed. Now the joy felt fuller. The smiles felt freer. The announcement no longer carried hesitation. It carried celebration. But here's the truth. That journey, the unseen weeks before sharing the news, is what makes this moment so meaningful. Because happiness isn't shallow here. It's earned. It's walked through uncertainty and come out stronger. And that's why this baby already represents something bigger than a headline. It represents trust. In each other. In the process. In life unfolding the way it's meant to. And as their home prepares once again for midnight feedings and tiny cries echoing through the hallway, there's a quiet understanding between them. They know what's coming. The exhaustion. The chaos. The love so overwhelming it almost hurts. And they're ready. Not because it will be easy, but because it will be worth it. But the real test of joy doesn't come during announcements. It comes during transition. Because when a family grows, dynamics shift. Attention divides. Responsibilities multiply. And not everyone adjusts smoothly. In Chapter 3, we step inside the shifting family dynamic and the emotional changes this new baby will bring to the home. Because sometimes, the happiest news can still change everything. The house had always been alive with energy. Jackson's laughter bouncing off the walls. Lila's tiny footsteps pattering across the hardwood. Dogs barking in the yard. Sunlight filtering through the windows. But now, everything felt different. Because a new life was coming. And a new life doesn't just arrive quietly. It shifts everything it touches. Zach and Tori knew this wasn't just about them anymore. The kids would feel it. They always did. Even at a young age, children sense changes before adults articulate them. Jackson noticed first. He asked questions about the baby that no parent can answer easily. Will it be bigger than me? Will it sleep in my room? Can it play with me? Lila, younger, sensed tension more than details. She wanted to hold Mom's hand constantly, to be close, to understand the rhythm of change she couldn't name yet. Zach and Tori approached the moment with care. No rushed explanations. No scripts. Just honesty, patience, and love. This baby is coming, and we are all going to take care of each other, Tori explained gently, holding both children on the couch. Jackson frowned thoughtfully, processing. So, it's not just Mommy and Daddy anymore? No, Zach said quietly, voice steady. It's all of us. We're a team now. It was a simple conversation, but it was the beginning of a larger shift. As the weeks passed, subtle tension appeared. Jackson, normally boisterous and confident, sometimes clung to routines that now felt different. He wanted extra attention at bedtime. He asked repetitive questions about the baby's arrival. He tested boundaries more than usual. Lila responded differently. She became clingier, needing reassurance that she wouldn't be forgotten. Zach and Tori recognized the signs immediately. This was normal. Children process change in small waves, sometimes without words. So, they adapted their parenting style. More one-on-one time. Small surprises to reinforce love. Consistent routines for security. They were no longer just expecting a baby. They were preparing a family for transformation. In the midst of planning for a new child, Zach and Tori's bond deepened. Pregnancy brought long nights, early mornings, and the constant negotiation of energy and emotion. Tori's fatigue grew. Zach's protective instincts strengthened. Every glance and touch became a silent promise. We're in this together. Even mundane tasks, laundry, meals, cleaning, took on new meaning. Each action reinforced partnership. But the strain was real. Even strong relationships experienced tension in transitional periods. They argued once or twice about schedules, priorities, and how best to balance attention between kids and work. Yet, each disagreement ended with reflection, conversation, and compromise. This was more than love. It was intentional, practiced commitment. The physical space of their home changed too. The nursery became a project in quiet anticipation. Walls painted softly, furniture assembled, clothes washed, folded, and neatly stacked. Even the smallest details mattered. A nightlight in a soft glow. Blankets for warmth. A rocking chair for late nights. Jackson helped in his own way, placing stuffed animals around the room. Lila arranged books on low shelves. It wasn't just decoration. It was symbolic. Everyone had a role, everyone was part of the change. And as they worked, laughter returned. The anxiety was still there, beneath the surface. But the act of preparing brought connection and hope. Of course, no family exists in a vacuum. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, and close friends began to anticipate the arrival as well. The Roloff family, with its history of public scrutiny, also carried a layer of pressure. How would this pregnancy be shared publicly? What details should remain private? How would fans react? Zach and Tori discussed boundaries carefully. Their choice was deliberate. Celebrate in intimate circles first, and share with the public later. They understood the power of narrative and the need to protect their family from outside stress. Pregnancy brings hormonal shifts, exhaustion, and physical discomfort, but in a house full of children, these challenges are amplified. Tori felt both elation and fatigue. Zach felt pride and protective anxiety. Jackson felt excitement and uncertainty. Lila felt love and insecurity. Each emotion intersected in unpredictable ways. And yet, the family moved forward together. They learned to communicate not only words, but gestures. A hug from Zach. A smile from Tori. A shared joke. A gentle reassurance. These small moments kept the household balanced. Chapter 3 isn't just about physical preparation, it's about emotional preparation. Zach and Tori recognized that expanding a family isn't just adding a baby. It's redistributing love. It's negotiating attention. It's teaching patience, empathy, and understanding to children. It's modeling partnership and resilience. And most importantly, it's realizing that every family member experiences change differently. By embracing that, Zach and Tori created an environment where joy and anxiety could coexist. As the weeks drew closer to the baby's arrival, the house settled into a rhythm. Children laughed, fought, and played. Meals were shared. Nurseries glowed softly at night. And in quiet moments, Zach and Tori held hands, acknowledging the journey they were on. They weren't just waiting for a baby. They were cultivating a family ready to embrace life's next chapter together. And in Chapter 4, we dive into the unexpected twists and emotional highs that tested their patience, their courage, and their hope in ways no one could anticipate.